Hey everybody, welcome back to the CAF Plus channel. We got a good show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about illustration art over at the upcoming impending auction over at Heritage for their pulp and paperback science fiction fantasy illustration set. So let me bring in Sarahjane and we'll get this thing started.
Yeah.
Sarahjane, welcome
Hello,
back.
thank you. I was just gonna say thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no. It's always good to have you on, and obviously you're back. You're not at home now. You're back at the I guess in Texas, huh?
Yep, I'm back in Texas, looking at all the stuff for upcoming sales, so I can rinse and repeat and tell you all about some more stuff that is gonna be pretty exciting in the late spring and summer.
Awesome. Well, we have this current auction ends on the 15th, if I'm
The
not mistaken.
15th, so Thursday, right? That's yeah.
Yes. So just 2 days away, everybody. We got to get these days straight. But yeah, the 15th. So this is the first one of the new year,
Mhm.
and I'm sure it's the first of many. I mean, how do you approach like 2026 when you're looking at the major signature illustration related
Mhm.
auctions and then sort of smaller ones like this?
So the way I'm thinking about it this year is I want to give people who are collecting in kind of the subgenres of illustration multiple chances every year to, get an auction they can sink their teeth into. So in addition to having a signature auction in the spring and a signature auction in the fall that are going to, really showcase some of the highlights from across all the genres,
Mhm.
we're holding we're holding about an auction a month. There might be some months where there's actually 2 auctions, and I'm kind of curating them in terms of, we have these sales, which are the pulp sci-fi fantasy focused ones with also, like a lot of the kind of detective paperback and paperback pulp. Then there's a couple of pinup specific showcases as well as mainstream American illustration that is, the glossy magazines. And also, we've got one that's going to be coming up next month that's going to be have a lot of great editorial cartooning, like New Yorker and cartooning that was in the Saturday Evening Post. I'm really thinking about it in terms of, you've got these two visions of America in the Post and the New Yorker, and I'm showing a lot
Mhm.
of pieces from both of those. So I'm trying to
Sure.
just make it so that, there's really a lot of opportunities to either, advance your collection or start thinking about, what a collection could look like because you're seeing things, presented together in a way that I think is pretty interesting, at least.
Do you have any, collectors that you're talking to as far as having like a, collector centric, not like Len Crane, but
Yeah.
along those lines?
Well, I mean, we did have, just late last year, we did have the Signet paperback art, which was all from a single collection. So there are going to be a couple of core collections that are coming up in future sales. They might not be, totally a single owner sale, but there are
Mhm.
definitely, some collections we're going to be highlighting that I'm going to be excited to share with people. And of course, I'm always encouraging collectors to think about their collections in those terms because we do find that it's a hit. We find it's a hit in illustration sales, we find it's a hit in the comic sales and the pulp sales. We've seen some really great collections kind of coming to people intact and really finding that audiences are just enjoying that.
Well, the Signet auction seemed to do pretty well. And, I know
Yeah.
leading up to it, I was like, wow, I wonder if people are really going to get into it or not because the bidding wasn't fast and furious early on, but at the final lot sales totals were I had to have been pretty, the seller had to be pretty happy with it.
I think
That was
I think, I think it turned out well from the sellers. I think it also turned out well on the bidding side where there were a lot of people who were newer collectors who did get a piece that now they treasure. There were also a lot of people who did end up, yeah, thinking, "Oh, it looks pretty slow," and being conservative in their bidding who really, told me in the days after that they were kicking themselves a little for not fighting harder for things because it did get pretty spirited toward the end. There's a couple of things that also ended up in institutions, so that's exciting to see.
oh
Yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Well, there are a few institutions out there buying regularly these
Yeah.
days, so yeah, we know where those are going to wind up. But that's great. I mean, I think all of that is good because it just means that we're all going to get to see it, again one day in
Mhm.
potentially in person. let's see, what is Peter Rowe wants to know, do you consider illustration art to be fine art?
I mean, and then somebody else said, I think it's all fine art to all of us.
Yeah.
I don't see a need to necessarily try and hold those two terms in opposition to each other, but I do think that illustration art and comic art are both really interesting because the technical work of creating them is not one where the person who's making it expects for the viewer to encounter the original piece. And
Hmm.
that's a really interesting distinction. So, while I think on its quality and its importance and its beauty and how moving it can be, it should be, it should be thought about as seriously. It should be thought about as lovingly as, what we'd consider fine art you see in a museum. But also, we should be fascinated by the process of that.
Hmm. I've never had it said to me in that way, that's kind of like revolutionary. The idea that, comic artists and illustrators who are doing stuff for book covers never expect you to see the original. That's
Mhm.
funny. Whereas fine art, of course, that's exactly, how it's supposed to be presented, and it's being made for that intention. With that in mind, I've never really thought of it like that. I don't know. It's just a total different spin on thinking about this thing that we love and we collect, and we feel in many ways it's as good as the best art hanging in museums these days. But it's when you think about the creator's intent and what the publisher's intent is with the piece, that, gosh, you just you just blown away, 25 years of thinking, and made me really think about our hobby a little bit differently. But wow, thank you for that. That's great. Uh, well, I mean, so this particular one, it's kind of it's a mixed bag. I forget the total count. I think it's a little under 200 pieces that are in this set. And as far as curating this one, was it just kind of trying to find, a good set of pieces? Was there any, when you were thinking about eras and the types or the reasons these pieces were created for, and what kind of things led into this particular grouping?
So I think that I definitely, I definitely wanted it to I want to make sure that these sales are kind of stretching back forward and past a little bit more than you might expect, because I think as collectors we can get really, we can get really deep into one thing. We can get deep into one moment in time, one subgenre within the subgenre. And I personally always find it more exciting when an auction gives me, three things I knew I was looking for and one thing I didn't.
Hmm.
So I always want to kind of try to do that while still making sure that it is, that it is contained enough that people are going to not be, waiting endlessly for the three things that they knew they were looking for. So I do think I was thinking about kind of, to some extent, you're looking at what's coming in. You're thinking about, people obviously when you're bringing stuff to auction, you want to get seen by the bidders who are going to love your stuff most, who are going to bid most enthusiastically about it. You want to get into a great next home. You want to, sell it when you want to sell it. I don't want to leave people waiting 3 years for the perfect sale. You could try to curate an auction like a museum exhibition, but that doesn't actually serve anybody. So I really, I try to make the bucket big enough so that it's useful to people on both ends, for the
Sure.
buying and the selling side. And that's really that's what we tried to do here, kind of um, weave some threads together. We weave some threads together. So we're talking about a few things. We've got a more historical sci-fi section. We've got some magazines, some books, some gaming art, some, and then the books, there's going to be some sci-fi, some fantasy, some, detective pulp, even some romance, just kind of looking at kind of like how all of these subgenres fit together.
Hmm. Well, so, yeah, we might as well just start looking at some art then, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. I've got everything queued up, and we're starting off with a piece by M. Schwiller, and I know that you are a fan, a big fan. We've talked
Yeah.
about your work many times in the past. This is a, as far as what was it used for? This is I didn't even read that beforehand. So
Yeah.
it's a this magazine. Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting concept here for a piece done. And when was this piece done though? What year? Are we talking like late 50s, early 60s?
Yeah,
Let's see.
I of
I
course
think
can't look it up exactly the year.
58.
Yes.
58. All right.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's got all those little things it's got all those little things I love that you tell you exactly when it was done, like the look of the planes, the kind of notion that, she's at once kind of like an otherworldly fantasy spirit and also, a rocket ship. I kind of love that. And then obviously the bright greens, it's a really, really nicely preserved in terms of its color. And yes, as you mentioned, I'm a huge Emsh fan. So I'm always gonna, I'm always gonna find a reason to share that with other people.
That's very nice. Has there ever been like a retrospective of their work? I mean, I know that there's such a great body of work by him, but it's I can't say that I've come across a
You
book.
know, Yeah, I don't, I don't think that there's actually been nearly enough focused on him as there
Mhm.
could be, and also, him and his wife Carol Ann Schuller, who's like, she's a significant author. I was lucky enough to see he also made these kind of experimental films, and I have gotten to, see those in a group setting, and that's been really interesting. But no, I really think that he's a figure who he gets rediscovered and rediscovered and rediscovered by generations.
Oh, cool. It's not often that we see them using like that red bar and having it be on the actual painting. I
It's
mean, from a
true.
lot of the stuff you and I have looked at before,
It's
but
funny, that's something people associate with the New Yorker, that there would always be the painted bar on the side of a New Yorker cover. But yeah, a lot of times they just added that after they weren't having the people painted in or painting them onto the covers.
mhm. Well, it's a good one to get started with here.
Yeah.
Then, now let's see. This was done in 62.
Yeah.
And what was it for? Oh, for another, it's an interior to a
Yep,
digest.
yeah, it's a digest interior. I wanted to mention that, we have a lot of Jack on in this sale, and I think, he's a perennially popular artist, but I also always end up accidentally having these themes, when we're chatting. And one of the themes I think that you're going to see emerging is the man versus beast fight. And I didn't realize that that was happening throughout the sale until I started doing this. And I think this one, I just think that it's wacky. And one of the things that, it's so funny, we started talking about like, is illustration art fine art? To me, illustration art, is meaningful art, it's powerful art, and it's serious art that doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's one of my favorite things about it. To me, I think that's one of the ways that people end up approaching it, because they go, well, this is just kind of goofy.
Right. I mean, it looks like a man, right, fighting a rug and out in the woods. But
Or a carnivorous plant, or an
exactly,
eel. We don't
I'm sure
know.
it's something different.
I believe that also, if I'm not mistaken, this is is this from the Retief of like the red tape? Is
Yeah,
that what this one
yes,
is
that's
from?
you have it
Yeah,
right.
which
Yeah.
is it's just fascinating because it's one of the it's one of the most like interesting sort of ongoing, fantasy adventure stories about, kind of a bureaucrat diplomat, which is the least exciting, job you can imagine. Not a swashbuckling, not a swashbuckling detective, or, I don't know, a pirate gigolo, but, a guy who works for the government.
Well, I have never, so you've read a little bit, I take it. I have,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, having a little bit of, gone in the,
Yeah.
in the sets here, right? Oh, okay. So we have other, well, no.
Yeah, there's a lot more in the sale.
Okay.
I just kind of I found, you know, I wanted to be able to point that out. And I didn't say being a diplomat is inherently the least exciting thing. I said that, it's not typically what's being, considered the kind of most exciting fighter, you know.
Exactly. Well, it's all about what was
Yeah.
going to sell a book
Yeah.
at that time. So you're right. They were definitely leaning in other areas than political,
Yeah.
diplomatic type
Yeah,
situations.
that was for like John the Car, that was for a different sort of story.
Hmm. All right. Now this one was a weird one. I did not get a chance to read the description on it, but anytime you have something that looks like a bear with in a fight with a man, I guess
Again, it's a
what are you
digest.
gonna
It's
get?
another sci-fi digest. I started off with, some of the earlier sci-fi magazine digest stuff. And yeah, again, I didn't realize I had so many men fighting rugs, men fighting bears, and I mean, some of them sort of self-consciously, remind me of what you would think of with more like the straight men's adventure magazines. If you think of
Mhm.
like, Weasels Ate My Face, or the really over the top, those kind of like really over the top scenes. And you don't see typically, as much of a focus on that in people's memories of this genre. So I think it's really fun that it actually was there all the time, just like big goofy men fighting bears. And you can put this on your wall.
Yes,
You've
you
got to
can,
wait
Noel.
about a week, but you can make that happen.
Oh man. Hey, Dan Goodwin. He says he sees Solo and Chewie in this one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, a little bit of that, right?
I
Although I
don't think
think that's a
it's
sports car in the water behind them, right?
it's true. It definitely is. I didn't notice that until just now.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what that. I mean, this what this is. It's like a claw or I don't know, because yeah, that's his car. I don't know. He's yeah. There's enough things to
That's
look
a
at it and ask
rock. Yeah, yeah, that's a rock. He's got a, don't bring a gun to a rock fight, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that looks like a dagger, you know. And who knows, and the moon's very full, so for all we know, this is a werebear. Yeah.
Man, you are right in the story as we look. See, these are all the questions we get to ask ourselves before we open up the book to read it. Nope.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Peter says sci-fi horror Hardy Boys. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can
Mhm.
see that too. Man, we could we could
Yeah,
write
we
our
could keep
own
going.
Pulp, right? Okay, here we go. Well, let's see. So the artist was David Mattingly. Um,
Yeah, who and he's a somewhat more recent artist. And you're seeing more and more of his stuff coming to the auction market, and he's very good. And again, like as time went on, we really did see, not that there isn't still incredibly kind of like incredibly dark, serious
and I have to apologize. I was reading
art.
the wrong tab. It's Davis Meltzer on this one.
Okay,
That
yeah.
yeah, not Mattingly. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
bad.
yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, anyway, very cool. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, this
This is
is
David
Mattingly.
Mattingly. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Yeah.
done in 1981.
Yeah.
This is a paperback cover.
Yeah.
Zoom in on this one here if I can click on it. There we go. This is
Yeah.
cool. I mean, the
And
color
yeah,
detail.
this is cool. I mean, this I like because this is actually, it looks a lot earlier than it is. It feels a lot. And in the 80s, one of those things you saw is that, how nostalgia kind of comes in waves. So you can see that, the like you're thinking about zeppelins, you're thinking about, all of this sort of, what would then kind of become, steampunk eventually, like these threads that like you're getting, kind of like historic a historic futurism, and that's one of those things that you start to see, as people are, really looking to the past and kind of creating fantasies around it in a way.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
So it's like
I really, yeah, I love the, I love kind of the texture of this, and I love the texture of this. I love the sky of it, and yeah, I love the kind of. I know that the choice comes, from the story, but I do
Hmm.
think that it speaks to again, it speaks to something that you can see when you look at a lot of this art together, and you look at kind of like the time and the flow of what people are thinking about, what people are making art about, what people are writing stories about.
All right, it was done in '81. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
when I started really reading sci-fi paperbacks and stuff. I mean, that's kind of all we
yeah,
were able to
yeah.
consume. So no, this is the
Did
same
did you
imagery I
get
was
to be
looking at.
Anarch Lords?
No, I don't think I did actually.
Yeah,
I don't believe I did, but I mean, the image looks
yeah,
familiar, but it's
yeah,
kind of anyway. No,
yeah.
very cool piece, and from again David Mattingly.
I want to know who. I'm going to go back to this another time. We got to move on, but I want to know why somebody thinks there's a kangaroo
Yeah,
on that
it's on the
one.
logo
Yeah.
right here. Actually, yeah, you can see
Okay.
it on
Yeah.
the fin and then on the side here.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and it's called Fat Susie, I guess. All right. So let's see. Next up, John Howe.
Yeah.
So what is this from? This was a uh, so it was an art book, I guess.
No, so this was yeah,
Oh,
so yeah.
Metal Hurlant. Okay,
Yeah, it was a proposed cover for Metal Hurlant that
cool.
didn't end up getting used. And I just think it's great. That there's nothing to say other than, yes, this is one that we could talk about for an hour, and see everything that's going on in there, in the gnarl of the trees, in the figure, in the beast, and it's it's really a spectacular thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is like seeing an Ian Miller, ink drawing, but painted. I mean, there's
Yes.
just so much fine detail, and it's fluid, and wow. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a lot of John Howe's work before, but no, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I think we should all be looking out, John. I think we should all be looking for John Howe's work, and when you see it, you should take the time to check it out. And I believe that people who are wandering around. I'm so sorry. This is going to be so embarrassing, but I'm genuinely going to say Europe. I believe that there might be an exhibition in not France, but a country near France. I heard about it the other day, and I haven't gotten
Oh,
to investigate it much more. But
all right. Well, when you find out more,
go
let us
Google.
know.
You know what? Somebody else go Google it, and
Yeah, and let us know. Confirm it for
yes,
us.
yes, confirm it for it. Yeah, confirm it for us.
There you go. Newell says, I would love to own some How Lord of the Ring art.
Yeah,
Hmm, let's see. Gurney is next, right? Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So another paper. Oh, this is a prelim.
This is a
This is
prelim,
a
and what's
paperback
interesting
one.
is we actually have two prelims from this same sequence.
Hmm.
And I love Gurney, and even getting the opportunity to offer a prelim is always exciting. And I think, like, seeing both of them, this one's much more realized in a lot of ways, and it's yeah. But I really enjoy the amount of work he put into them. Yeah, and it is a very nice prelim. Yeah, and it's very, and again, like, not too many of the finals are popping up these days.
No, you don't see his published work too often out there in
Yeah.
the market, but that's the nice thing with
So it's not
illustration art.
impossible you're gonna see one coming up in a future sale. I don't know.
Ah,
We were lucky enough to have, that Dinotopia piece in the last sale.
hmm.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, I mean, the cool thing with I was going to say was with illustration art, when you get prelims like this, they tend to be a little bit more finished. I mean, not often are they going to do like a monotone rough to show the publisher to get approval to do the final. I mean, usually they're going to
Yes.
put the colors down because that's so important, and then you do get a really nice piece like this. That would be a great example to have from them if you can't afford the published piece.
Yeah. And We were just informed, if you want to pop it up, that the
Oh,
How exhibition is in Switzerland until December of this year. And everyone, I'm gonna apologize right now and just say I, got up at about 5 to get on a plane. So if I'm a little punchier than normal, that is why. But
yeah.
I'm gonna make it interesting.
Well, I'm gonna have to see if we can find somebody to go to the exhibition and then either shoot some video, take some photos, or something. That would be pretty cool to
Yeah.
see. And Rich Danny's says Gurney was a background painter on the Fire and Ice animated film. Yep, I believe we've said that before, Rich. Rich has worked in animation, so he knows a thing or two about it. And what is this? Tom says we should have a How exhibition at OAX. One one day. One day, maybe. All right. Next up, we have
Yeah,
a painting
so
here on there.
I wanted to bring up that, there's a really nice just space art section in this sale too. And I think that, like, without the really, the really intensely devoted to realism space artists, you wouldn't have kind of I don't. I mean, I think that science fiction would be a lot poorer if we didn't also have, art that was really about the cosmos. And so we have a lot of examples by Ron Miller, from Ron Miller, in this sale. And he's really one of the top working space artists these days. And I think this is one of my favorites that's in the sale. But there's a handful of others. And if you are just inspired by kind of the universe that's broader than us, I don't know, actual space art is it's a really nice thing to get into. It can be really inspirational to look at. It can really just also be a little bit more approachable in price, some of it.
That is true. I love the blues and
Yeah.
the planet in the foreground. I mean, that's nice. You're so used to thinking of grays and whites and whatever our
Mhm.
moon. And no, I
Yeah.
love this. It almost makes me feel like I'm looking at a painting at the ocean, but I know, right, but it's not. But that's what's fun about stuff like this is
I
there's
mean,
things that are familiar and things that are not, right?
and I think that it's something that's it's so funny because you would think it's so technical and so impersonal because it really there are no figures in it. There's nothing. There's literally no story. It's the opposite in some ways of kind of the what you expect in illustration with storytelling, but it always is personal and storytelling by the angles you're choosing, by the way you're presenting all of the details that you can both see and imagine.
Yes, yes, I see it. Some favorite movie quotes in the chat.
Yeah.
Tom said, "That's no moon," and Peter said, "Beware what lurks beneath the ice of Europa." Thank you, guys. No, that's awesome. Let's see. Next up, a little something a little different here. This
Oh my
is
god, yeah, I see this. I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite things. This is one of my favorite things that happened to me last fall when I was actually kind of bringing some stuff in. I brought this physically into our Chicago office, and somebody who was working there was like, "Oh my god, I loved Beauty and the Beast. I loved Beauty and the Beast." And we have a comment in the chat that says, "Great TV show, Beauty and the Beast." This is so clearly Beauty and the Beast. Anybody
mhm,
who remembers that knows exactly what it is. Then, what is it? Click to, like, if you see what it actually is, it is not for a Beauty and the Beast book. It is, we might not have a copy of the book, but it's
right.
actually for an Anne McCaffrey book that has nothing to do with Beauty and the Beast. And so I spent about a week called Duna. The
Tuna, right?
series was
Yeah.
called Duna, yeah. And so I don't know if there was supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast, you know, if Michael Herring just straight did this for a Beauty and the Beast book that didn't happen, or you know, a Beauty and the Beast article in something that was obscure enough that he was then just able to resell it to something else. But this has nothing to do with Beauty and the Beast,
Well, I
and
just had to check
I
because I
sort of
can
love
remember
that.
when Beauty and the Beast was, but Beauty and the Beast was 91 and this was 92. So there's clearly there's something going on there.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, this is done with a reference photo of, you know, of
Oh,
that.
of
There's
course,
no
yeah.
question. Everybody recognized it immediately. But the fact that it's published having nothing to do with that just 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 tickled me when I found
I
out.
wonder what Anne thought when she says, "All right, run with that one." Wow. But yeah, that's what I thought when I was pulling up the list of stuff you'd sent me. I'm like, that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this.
Yeah.
It's so well done though.
And you were like, yeah, I didn't realize Sarah Jane was such a Beauty and the Beast fan.
All right. Now, next up, we have a piece by Rowena Morrill, of course, and you
Mhm.
have. I think there's actually. I don't recall how many, but I think there's at least 3 or 4 total pieces, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
there
even more.
are. And in fact, one of them is for another Anne McCaffrey. There's one for Dolphin Riders of Pern, I think it is. And that's getting some nice interest. But this has a couple of the details that I love about Rowena. Like it's got that, you know, for and you could almost miss her, the beautiful, you know, the beautiful vixen
I
right
did.
next to
I'll
the
be honest.
adorable random pig, you
I
know.
did not see them when I actually looked at this one for a little while because I was like, what is that? Why did the why did Rowena decide to put that white smear on the axe, right? So I was actually
Yeah.
looking at this painting and I never saw the woman. I
Yeah,
ne-
yeah.
so
And I mean,
and I certainly didn't see
it's
the
such like
pig.
a Virgil Finlay inspired woman. There's so much going on in this, and it's all so weird. And also the colors. You know, Rowena like was consciously often trying to bring, you know, a little bit of like femininity to things. And like the fact that there's pinks in it in a way that you really don't see a lot of pinks in. Yeah. You don't see a lot of pinks in that. Yeah. It's just to me, it's just really if
It's
you
getting more
like
and more interesting
Rowena,
the longer I
yeah,
look at it, to
there
be
you go.
honest.
It gets more and more interesting the longer you look at it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the the mountainscape down below. I mean, you're right. I mean, you have a mountain in pink, a mountain in yellow, another one in red. I mean, and the way they're painted, yeah, there's a lot of interesting, imagery going on in here. Even and the pig doesn't bother me at all. Uh, the only thing I keep questioning is that little white right there that they put on the end of that axe. I'm not quite sure about that. But look at the horse. It's
Yeah.
so well painted.
Such a good horse. Yeah.
Doggone it. All right, well, I like this one.
Yeah.
Next up, this is a book cover from
Mhm.
1998. I'm not sure the artist.
Romus
Kukulus?
cuculus? Yeah. So,
Okay.
did I think most, you know, like, in the way that often people who did some stuff for magic might get known for their magic stuff, but like I think some of his best work are these wraparound book covers because he's so good at both the tonality, you know, that makes that front cover part look so good, but also the way in which the scenescape on the back is really really great. You know, he's another one of those artists where I just want him to just start getting more attention. I think these are really powerful. And again, you know, we've seen his stuff kind of taking off when it does come to auction, powerful examples. So I'm not, you know, I don't think he needs me to be his cheerleader, but I really am. I think that, you know, I think a lot of people are gonna respond like you do, where you go, "I don't know that much about him, but I look at it and I really like it."
Right. Well, I mean, the way he's rendered the figures and that bit in the
Mhm.
foreground, and then
Yeah,
everything else is just pushed to the back because of the tones on it. Yeah, it's a really nice piece, and I can, yeah, I can see how well that works as a cover, and then having it be a wraparound too makes it all the more cool. Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. I love it. All right,
Yeah, we've
next
got
up. Oh,
another one by him in the sale too.
okay. Hold on.
So
I actually
so
wrote
we've
his
left
name
to
down
go
because I'm gonna do a little research after the show. That I'm very intrigued by their work. But there's another piece because I didn't see that when I was going through the set. Okay. Now an Enrich Vampirella piece is
Yeah,
what follows.
I've always got to have one.
Yes.
One day you'll catch me off, but there's I think there might be 4 Vampirellas in this sale. This is, this is the knockout of the bunch, though. This is
Hmm.
with no disrespect to any of the others, but this one, it's another one where, I walked into a house and I saw it and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good day.
Wow, you got a good job, Sarahjane. To go around and see the work. Was this hanging on someone's wall, or did they actually, or were they already in the kind of transition for to having you come in and just pick things
I
up?
think I did see, I think this did come out of a large collection, but I do think when I saw this first, it was hanging on a wall in a living room.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, very nice piece. Enrich can do no
Yeah.
wrong. And
Definitely
what is it?
couldn't on that day.
28 by 40 inches, so a decent sized painting
Yeah.
as well. Oh, this next one. I use this one as the image for the show too, because anything from White Dwarf is, I mean, they're rare to see for covers, but you know, White Dwarf was, I did a lot of gaming in the late 70s and 80s through my high school years, and White Dwarf and Dragon Magazine were required reading, and
Yeah.
so and a lot of times you pick those up because of the cover imagery, and a lot of times you didn't know who the artists were. You wanted the book, and then I kind of got it just because I liked the art, even though I was playing the games too. But White Dwarf was just one that always had great cover imagery, and so yeah, I knew this. I'm not surprised where the bidding's at on it right now, because this is kind of a sweet spot for a lot of people, I think, who were into those magazines at that age group.
Yeah.
They're like,
Well,
that's the
this
primary collector.
yeah. This image has also kind of taken on, a specific kind of like mythos. So it was originally for box art for a Warhammer game that didn't end up like coming out exactly like that. So then it got
Mhm.
used as the White Dwarf cover, and it's also been kind of reproduced as as a standalone print, and it's like you kind of see it a lot in the fan discourse. So it's
Mhm.
been, kind of a popular and often referenced piece for a long time. And there's, even before the bidding was, starting, I was talking to people in the collecting community who hadn't expected to see this one, come out onto the market. And
Well,
yes,
it's
it is very Judge Dredd-like. There's a lot of things. People have had a lot of feelings about it. I thought about using it as the cover for the sale. It just felt a little bit like, Heritage, we've got 50 categories, and a lot of people are going there trying to maybe find a coin, maybe find a baseball card, maybe find a handbag, and it's a lot of intensity if you're not into the intensity of it. But if you are into the intensity of it, like you were, and like I think a lot of the people who are watching the live stream now, yeah, it just jumps out to you in a good way.
Yeah, it really does. And no, I think this is great. Well, what was used on the cover? Because I don't get those.
Well, no, not the
The
not the
digital,
physical cover.
right?
We didn't have that. Just the like the
Well, yeah. What
main
was the one
image.
that was for the? What was the
We
cover
use,
piece? I don't.
I actually used that. The main things you see when you're looking at the sale are the Emsh, obviously, so I love that one, and
Mhm.
the Kukulus that we just were talking about.
There we go.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
because you're always
uh,
looking for something that both stands on its own and also correctly kind of gives people a little bit of a window into the sale.
right, right.
Yeah, but this
Well,
one
this
was
is.
hard to not
I'll
pick.
be. I'll be. I should just put this one on my watch list just to see where it ends up.
Yeah.
All right, Fabian. You can't have
Yeah.
an illustration auction without a Fabian in it, or a couple Fabians in it. But this one's great. I mean, I
I know
love
you
this
can.
black
Yeah,
and white work.
you can't. Yeah, you can't not. We have a lot of Fabians in this sale. We're still the same collection that the last time you and I talked, and there were some great Fabians. That it's still coming out of that same collection,
Hmm.
and it was a collector who, he really got very close with Fabian and had, the first pick of all of these. So this is a great another interior from one of the Dragonlance books, which, those are the ones to me. Like you feel about White Dwarf might be how I, get it every time I see a Dragonlance piece. I just, when my mind was kind of like opening up and all I wanted to do was explore new fantasy worlds, those were some of the first that I was getting really deeply into. So yeah, I love this. I love that it feels so bookish, with in like and with the kind of border around it. And yes, I mean just the incredible work that went into that creation of that much technical detail. Again, on something that when it reproduced on the page, you lose all of that.
Hmm.
It turns all into tone, but it's just spectacular.
Yeah, no, it's a great example of his work. Yeah, I just one of the pieces I picked was one of the paintings by Fabian in here.
Mhm.
So we'll get to see that in the end. But yeah, whenever I just love his style. All right, so we actually have something from Magic the Gathering in here as well from Chris Muller. So this is cool. This is a really nice
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, no, I think this one's incredibly, this one could have been a contender to be the main art for the sale on the main Heritage website, but um it just also didn't crop quite right. I actually tried this one because I could
Yeah.
have looked at it every time I went to the home page. But yeah, I love it, and I love that just it's got so much motion, and it feels kind of like it's just got so much momentum. And even though it is all so dark, it it all reads, all of the colors read. And I think that's really fascinating as you are looking at the history of illustration and you think about somebody who's working in, the 2000s when they know what color reproduction can do and how they're working very, very differently. You wouldn't really see people necessarily choosing this palette, not because they weren't, enamored of this palette, but because, in 1945, you couldn't have put that on a page nearly as easily, in a way that was
Mhm.
affordable.
Right. I'm just curious how it's okay. All right.
Yeah, and you lose some of it, but
No, well, yeah, you're always going to
yeah,
get,
yeah,
the
yeah,
original is always going to be better, but
yeah.
uh yeah, this is
They're
great.
they're still punching some things up and some things down, but yeah, it's so much closer. Yeah, this is a good one. This is not to be missed.
No. All right. Let's see. Oh, Craig Hildebrandt. Yeah. What's not to like,
Okay.
right?
So this is again one of those things that this is about the story. So again, in the same way that you saw that herring and you're like, oh, Beauty and the Beast. You see this and you're like, hey, it's Gidget, the Taco Bell Chihuahua.
That's first thing.
And I mean, I know we're both dating ourselves, but
Hmm.
kids, look it up. That's Gidget, the Taco Bell Chihuahua, maybe the cutest mascot ever, but it's Gidget in space, and that's because it's from a tie-in for Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and and Kentucky Fried Chicken from Star Wars
You're a goose guy,
when the
right?
prequels were coming out. So there was a whole tie-in advertising campaign called Defeat the Dark Side, and this is one of the pieces that Greg did for it, not for the printed advertisements, but somehow related to the website. And the website, only little bits of it now exist on, like, the Wayback Machine and other archived sites. So it's sort of ephemerally lost to the world exactly how this fits in, but this is one of the Defeat the Dark Side pieces that Greg did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of history here, and
Yeah.
advertising, marketing, and a Star Wars tie,
Yeah.
which
I
many collectors like. food, and restaurant ties, fast food chains. We don't get that too often, right? I can't.
Yeah.
Where's all the Happy Meal artwork, right? Or anything. But no, this is cool. This is really cool.
Yeah. Well, the problem with some of that artwork, because you do see it sometimes, is that like artwork for a cup, it's just going to be side by side, almost the same images. So yeah, I wonder if a lot of it's been cut up. But yeah, there's got to be a Star Wars Chihuahua loving person who can't live without this.
Exactly. Well, no, well, this is cool. And at first I didn't realize it was Hildebrandt until I read the description after I was pulling things up. But no, this is great. This is fun. Oh man. All right. So we're moving a little bit backward in time
Yeah.
here. I don't know what the year was on this. 1933. So a nice pulp magazine cover by John Coughlin.
Yeah, we
I
gotten out of the
I
sci-fi
love
a little. Yeah.
Yeah, I really did. When I looked at this one, I love the composition. I love him, the skeletal hand rolling the dice, and the other one pointing at the results. I mean, he's so focused on it. I like this image a lot. I don't know why. There's no skull on it, so maybe I'm happy about that. Uh, but yeah, no, this is a cool image.
I mean, I also like the way, he's so intensely looking at the dice. It's almost like the diamonds have been forgotten. And I'm sure there's a story there and he's rolling for them, but like
Hmm.
it really does feel like somebody else could go in and sneak those away while nobody's
Right.
looking.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. You look at the detail on the cards, and then you see how loosely he's painting the face here.
Yeah.
It's just really, really, really well done.
And that
Um,
kind of suggestion of the shield motif in it.
you know, nice. So 1933, we're
Yeah.
pushing almost. We're not too far from a 100-year-old piece here.
Yeah. And yet that feels like that could be part of a movie ad campaign today and not feel throwback.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, this one's totally cool. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
into war and any kind of paintings representing dogfights, I mean, this is just great. I mean, because typically you don't get the city scene behind stuff like this, right? That was the first thing that struck me was that it's low to the ground, but you have all of this, all the airplanes and the action. And instead of just maybe the horizon and a lot of clouds, you get all these the army men on the ground in the middle of the city. Things are blowing up. It's
Yeah,
just so unlike the typical dogfight type artworks that we would see.
exactly. I mean, and I've mentioned this artist before, Blakesley, but he was kind of the king of aviation pulps. He was the guy that everybody else was measuring themselves after. But what I want to point out is just, when we're talking about color, this is that thing that you see all these kind of like really bright primary colors that read really easily when they are printed on as a pulp magazine with kind of
Hmm.
the low quality paper, the pretty rudimentary printing styles. And this is kind of what makes illustration that he not only had to think about with the scene he wanted to create, the composition that would be affecting. He wanted to think about what would work when you turned it into a magazine cover, and this really, really does.
Yeah, no, I mean, I miss this plane here. There's just so many yellow planes in this that I didn't even see this one. I just read as something else. But yeah, this is pretty well done. And yeah, wasn't there a piece in one of the recent
Yeah.
collections by Blakesley? Yeah. All right. No, this is cool. And yes, we know Peter Rowe is our number one military art collector, and he's always got his eye out. I don't know how he finds all the good stuff, but he every week he's posting at least two pieces of military related comic book artwork. So this is a good illustration piece for him too. I keep getting texted. I apologize. I'm gonna have to tell people to stop texting me.
I
I'm
know. They should just be watching and commenting.
Right, 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 exactly. Um, And well, it's my son giving me updates on some work he's doing. He doesn't realize I'm streaming, sadly. Next
Well,
up,
are we winning? Is he winning?
I think he's doing well. I mean,
Okay.
he's doing, like I say, he's doing some work for me tonight, and yeah, he's just trying to keep me updated on his progress.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I don't need to know, man. And and this is another one of these apps on my computer that I can't figure out how to silence. Even when I close it, the darn thing makes no, I got to figure out how to turn that off. But anyways, back to the art. We have a piece done in 1953, so we've got 76 years old by Raymond Johnson. It's a paperback cover.
Yeah. And again, there's some, this is very of its moment, very like the femme fatale. And what I really love is with all these pulp paperbacks, you're almost always gonna, have this voyeuristic sense. And like here you really straightforwardly have it with the the figure in the foreground and shadow looking in. But yeah, you just have window on window on window, in the way this is developed. And I think it's just a really classic example of this moment in paperback art.
Yeah, no, without question. And because when you first see it, you're focusing in on the couple, and then all you see is the guy peering in through the window at them. I didn't really zoom in on this one before, but I'm just kind of marveling at the painterly technique. I love just the dabs of color. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a white shirt, but it's pink, it's blue, it's green, it's gray. Uh, yeah, I mean, I love the technique in the piece. Even the guy in the foreground with his hat. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so warm and everything along. Yeah,
But yeah,
really
the
nice.
back of the chair too. I mean, the back of the chair, like the reds in the back of the chair makes it almost feel like there's a neon sign off somewhere, even though there isn't there. But there's something making like a firelight. It makes you it just really feels like there's a whole world just outside of what you can see.
Definitely. Wow, this is a nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yeah, another one. I just
This one's kinda haunting.
uh-huh.
And it's the pale, skin, complexion, because you see the figure on the left, and then, you see her looking at herself, and it's, it by the way they painted it, it feels like we're looking at 2 different people, and, at least for me, when I look at it, I mean, the eyes are a little skewed. I mean, there's enough there to throw you a little bit, and then when then to see
Yeah.
that, it's
I mean,
just
exactly. Like it's like you could go, oh yeah, is it just like is he just cheating the reflection, to make it work better? But
yeah,
there is something really surreal about it, and there's like you can't figure out what could possibly be the pink in the background. Like it is both a little bit mysterious and I do think a little bit intentionally off.
mhm. No, it's one of my favorites of the set that you picked, just
Yeah.
because I love the colors in it, and uh, there's a story there,
Yeah.
that is being told. I really do like it. And the artist was Frank Casarelli.
Yeah.
This is a
Who,
paperback
who
cover.
he, works pretty frequently for, in that genre. But again, not one of the names that you hear come up that much these days, which is I think, one of those things that sometimes there's sometimes there's just no reason other than some people had families who were keeping them out. Some people had large collections of their work coming to market, a long time ago, had somebody who, really was keeping their name in the public. But it's not a lack of talent or anything. It's not because, he didn't have the chops that his contemporaries had that,
Mhm.
we're not talking about him quite as much.
Well, I like it a lot. Now,
And it's
let's
true,
see
you
another.
don't usually see like it's hard to do. It's actually really hard to do pale that well. Mm.
Yeah.
And not have it feel, like, sickly,
Right, right. No,
Mm,
I really do like this piece a lot.
mm,
But I keep seeing, I do feel like, 'cause, the skin tones are a little different. I mean, I know it's a reflection, all that, but it's still just, there's something there I think is really cool.
yeah. Or we think it's a reflection, we don't actually know it's a reflection.
No? No, we don't.
Mm, mm. There's definitely a hint of that.
All right. Now this next one, all of that art? I guess that was going to be my question when I saw this. This is a paperback cover from 1961, Don Rainey, and let's see here. So, wow. Or
So
do
yeah, this
they?
is
So they put okay. So these are like paste ups on here too. Okay.
yeah.
Now I get.
And
I see.
this was much more commonly done in Britain than in the US at this period of time, where they were doing the paste ups directly on the art like this. We did have a large collection of digit art a few sales ago where you saw a lot of this. This is
Yep.
actually also a very close recreation of the art that they had previously published this on, because this was not the first publication of the Glass Key. And this is
Mm.
also very unusual in the history of this sort of paperback art, where they, are hiring a second artist to do a very, very similar composition to what they used the first time. Normally they either just kept using the same cover or they changed course entirely. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
You would think that they would change course entirely, typically, right? To relaunch something that had been put out there before, but similarities, but different artist styles were enough to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. No. And well,
Yeah,
that's
I wish I could pick the art director's brain, but
right. I'm sure they had their reasons. I haven't picked up anything from this era before, but I have a few illustration pieces from uh like the late 80s, some UK artwork, and I was just different. There's I think I actually don't have them even in my calf gallery. I'll send you scans of them.
yeah.
Doctor Who stuff.
I
Uh,
definitely wanna see.
cool. I will. So then, what do we have here? This composition, compositionally, it's just totally cool, and the yellow tones and the orange tones are neat, and the artist's name, Shannon, is it Sternwise?
Sternwise, yeah. Did a lot of book art, did some Western stuff that's, kind of pretty interesting to people, but yeah, just mostly also, like, so so of this moment. I think this is one of the things that you were asking, when we started talking about, like, what I want a sale to do, and I want a sale to, like, give you a sense of how kind of all of this art is so both of its time and driving its time. And I just think, like, it can't there's I've never seen anything, more psychedelic than this, with the
No, this
pattern
is
on pattern
67
on
too, right?
pattern, and like a patchwork, yeah, patchwork, the boldness of, like, it's somewhat obscured, but there's just straightforward nudity in it, and um yeah, just how much you can tell that this kind of, like, the James Bond and all of his kind of proteges and satirists, they've all been around for so long that this is just somebody took, a vignette sequence from the opening credits of a movie and turned it into a flat cover.
Right. Well, you can see them looking at this and
Yeah.
kind of experimenting with maybe what people were doing with photography at the time. I mean, they've taken
Yeah.
this female figure and kind of cut it and shifted things, just enough to make it be interesting. But yeah, no, I love it, and I love the fact that it's all very organic. It's not there's not crisp lines. The things that separate them are they're not square boxes. I mean, it's cool. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
It's very cool. That's a good word for it. I mean, that's the only word that you're gonna land on eventually.
Peter Rose says that Austin Powers was the previous owner of this scene. All right, next up, let's see. It looks like a book cover, right?
Yeah.
From
We're
1948.
we're popping around in time a little. I told Bill already that I was having some technical difficulties when I was putting together this list, so some things might have gotten out of order, but there's never a bad time. Never a bad time to look at this. Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
does this show how it was published? No. Okay, this is just
But I mean, you can see, it is a book cover, and you can
Hmm.
see that you can imagine the darker than you could think on the spine, and yeah. Mm,
And AJ Donnell.
yeah.
What does it say? Even there's some
Let me
best of luck, Lou, from AJ.
That's
So you get
pretty great as
you get
well.
some artist notes on the piece as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find the cover real quick, but because I have seen it. But yeah, I mean that's also, it is a really significant book that did get reproduced with different artists a number of times.
Hmm.
So in later years, I think there's even a Rowena cover. Um, down the line, there's a lot of different covers, but it is kind of a significant piece of it's a significant piece of literature. This is the first cover of it. That's one of the things that not only is it beautiful, it is kind of historically important as well in that way.
Well, very cool. It's from
Yeah.
1948.
Yeah.
I didn't throw a link in the chat. There is a link in the show description for everybody if you want to go over and check out the auction as well. I can copy the link and put it in the chat too for those who can't click the link in the show description. There you have it. Let's see. This might be the last piece that you sent me.
It
Um,
it might be, yeah, because I wanted to just kind of make sure I was hinting at all the different elements of the sale. And like I said, there's even straight romance covers in the sale, which I think is going to be you're going to find over time that's continuing to be a growing segment. But the gothic romances with the women in the graveyards, the women running down the hill, it's become so cliche that it's almost like become classic again, like it went through this moment of time where it just became so prevalent that it became cliche, and then because it became cliche, people actually started being able to compare all the images to one another, and it's become something that people are really starting to interrogate, this kind of gothic romance style. And I think it's great. I think, it's especially in terms of all the things we were talking about, like about looking at what artists can do, looking what they can do with value, looking what they can do with the different ways they're choosing to handle the paint, thinking about how it's going to, then be seen by the people. Like, where the only thing that isn't blue is the one tiny light in the back, the little bits of the house. Almost everything is blue except for like her skin and the haunting house behind her.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm looking through some of the just the overall set too while we're talking about this one. I forgot about some of the pieces that were in there. Yeah, you have Doug Beekman. I've always liked Beekman's work. There's some pieces that we didn't pick that
Yeah, I know that's the thing, that there was part of me that's like, we could just run straight through the sale, and I could tell you
Mhm.
one thing. We could do one of these times. We should do that. We should just do one of the rapid fire ones. Like, we're just gonna go through the sale. Not allowed to talk about anything for more than 45 seconds, but I bet we'd have something
We could
all
do
day.
it. Yeah, no, that would be fun. But yeah, no, I thought this was cool. Yeah, because I was trying to remember there was a few romance novel covers that I didn't see while I'm scrolling through here really quick. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of variety in
Yeah.
this auction with the number of pieces that are there. Um, all right. Well, here, we can swing over to the couple pieces I picked too.
Yes.
Let's see. So I picked a Mark
Oh my God.
Harrison.
I thought about picking this one. I thought about picking this one, and then
I
I don't
picked, yeah,
remember
yeah,
why I
because I'm so
didn't.
I've seen a lot of Mark's work, more of his more
Yeah.
recent work, right? And it's very painterly, very traditional. And when I saw this, it just, I thought it's from from '98, so a little bit earlier. It's not what you're used to seeing when you think of Mark's current work. And I love that. I love how crisp the image is. I
Yeah.
love, the bug and the adventurer at the base of the tree. I just think I really like the image a lot. I didn't read what it was from, so it is a paperback cover too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Mark's such a cool guy. I've talked to him many times, and but yeah, I love this. And I love that blue. It's yeah. I just think this is a great painting.
I also just think like there's something. I mean, I think somebody had mentioned earlier, horror Hardy Boys maybe,
Mm,
but if you zoom into this one, um, you kind of zoom in and there's like there's like a kid, maybe it's an adult, but like backpack to me always reads kind of youthful, and then there's like a bug with like a bug backpack. There's something very like warm about it, and I will admit this is not a book I've read, so but
mm.
it could turn out that it's an incredibly dark book, but it feels very it feels very like adventure-y. And I know it's not what you had next on your list, but we were talking about cook list. There's another one in the sale called 10 Points for Style. And if before we're done, we can find 10 points for style.
I will definitely try to pull that one up.
Because
And
this is, yeah, it
I'll
is
I'll definitely get it.
among the goofiest things in the sale.
All right. I'm just gonna find it now.
Yeah.
There are other how many other paintings are there? Is there 4 total in here?
I think there might be 3 in total. Yeah.
Let's see.
I think there are 3. There's
I think you're
another
right.
wraparound cover, and then there is 10 points for style, and you're gonna open it up, and you're not going to, since you didn't notice it before because you could not believe it was by the same artist.
No, I would not have guessed this was by the same. I mean, as a thumbnail, it popped out. But yeah, I didn't look at the detail. That is crazy.
Yeah.
10 points for
And
style.
yeah. I mean, and in my mind, the one we were just looking at, the Harrison and this one, they bookend each other, very similarly.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think any of the Mattingly's we have in this sale, but we are talking about that earlier. And him earlier, like, he also there was this moment where, we all remember this moment, or maybe we don't, but we all, you and me, we remember this moment, we're like,
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, looking at it now, yeah. Why didn't you pick this would have been a good one to talk about. That's great.
I mean, I
Uh,
did. I just picked it on the fly,
yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. Has a cool world vibe. Okay, yeah, that's kinda true.
Yeah. And
What
I
is it?
just noticed now that he's picking the guy's pocket.
Yeah, and taking the necklace, yeah,
Yeah. I had noticed the necklace before for some reason, but I hadn't noticed the pocket. Yeah.
I like it, and this,
Yeah.
lime, green, creature is, very unique. Well, they all are, I
Yeah.
guess, when you look at them. It is
But again, this is one of those things that I really like it when you see aliens smiling. We all have things we like. And you just get so used to seeing menacing aliens and like I mean, I think that's one of the things that people, loved about the Star Wars universe the first time, that like you got to know, that was one of the things that we don't think about it as the revolutionary bit about it, but that it was so about kind of creating these full universes where, you had, just people going about their day-to-day lives, needing to buy an alien sandwich and, seeing that in a really kind of warm way. Yeah, that was the first time a lot of people were introduced to that. Obviously, it wasn't the first time it was done, but yeah. But I love a smiling alien, and so
You're not
I
gonna
love this.
find an alien with a bigger smile than that one right there. I guarantee that.
Until
But
he finds out what the human just did.
right. But yeah, I mean, well, again, I'm still scrolling through that list, but
Yeah,
some artists that we haven't seen I think on here before, or not too often. Like Dave Seeley's in here. There's Hescock's piece, at least
yeah,
one. So I picked this Larry Schwinger piece. Just I like the colors on it. I mean, it feels like an old cigarette ad, and it's when was this painted? 1983. So it's got like a vintage kind of vibe to it, and
yeah,
but done in the 80s, which it just was kind of surprising when I saw it, because at first I thought, oh, it's got to be pulp related. It's got to be mid 50s or something. And it's 30 years later, but the colors are really nice. I mean, I love the brick textures, the old posters that are worn. There's a feeling, of espionage and all that. I just thought the image was really, really kinda cool.
I this is another one that, yeah, I could have easily picked this one too, and for all of the reasons you just said, especially the part where it's like, you can start to, you can really feel the aspect of it that's an homage, and then the fact that it also just works as such storytelling. I think that,
Mhm.
like, I really love the way, it has the three levels of posters. So it does, if you think about it as something that was created, later than this moment in time, it does feel like it's pulling you through time.
I never thought about it like that, but you're right. But yeah, I think it's wonderful.
And the way she grips the bag too, like just the incredible level of perception going on there.
Mhm. All right, next up, I picked this is the Fabian that I picked
Oh
because it just
yeah,
is like,
that's
again, another wolf, but it just has the stuff that I like about Fabian. He always, his the shapes of everything, the shape of the snow on the pine trees. It's just pure Fabian. The way he's drawn
yeah,
that. Even the castle. I love the moonlight. There's just this is so nice, and I think we typically ooh and ah about the black and white Fabian pieces, rightfully so. But it's cool to see a painted piece by him too, and just again, I love the trees. I mean, when these are Fabian trees, to me, yeah, I
I
just
mean, but then once you think about the trees, you go, "Oh gosh, those are Fabian hoods." Because like
yeah,
those hoods, they're so pointy because the trees are pointy.
hmm
Like the most hoods don't point like that. That's just, yeah, about repeating that shape over and over.
yeah, I love Fabian stuff.
Yeah.
But
And I
this is a
really
nice.
also like the light, and the way the light the way, again, the light is repeated on, what's going on in the stripes of
Hmm.
the stripes of the wolf. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, uh,
I know that
yeah.
that's another one. See, that one I thought I had picked,
Okay, yeah,
That
because
one
then you have
I thought was in there, but yeah, I'm glad you caught that. Yeah. I mean, this
right,
is beautiful. This is,
it
yeah.
is, and, I mean, at the end of the day, I think uh, many collectors would, love to have, James Allen St. John in their collection, doesn't matter what it is, right? And so it doesn't matter, we don't need a hero and a lion or some kind of feline or something here. This is a fine representative piece
Yeah.
if you wanted to have something. So I just thought it was cool, and I
I
was
mean,
I
and
was I was like,
also, if
"Uh,
if you do have, let's say you have a collection in your person cave. I'm not going to gender your
mhm,
own private space. You can, I can have one too. You're not allowed to
yes, you
gatekeep.
can."
You're not allowed to gatekeep the cave, but you could have this, in your dining room with your family, even if your family wasn't like that into your collecting. You can have, because that this is one of those pieces that it is fine. This was, not done as illustration.
Right.
This was, as far as anybody can tell, but this is this is really a crossover piece that could, really, mm, prove the point that, all of these artists were as kind of,
They were fine
perceptive,
artists, right?
emotional, technical as, anything
Yeah,
that
of
you're going to
course.
see, with the fine artists. We all know that, but you could also put this in a room where somebody said, "Yeah, I don't want a hero. I don't want a
Right.
bare-chested man fighting a wolf."
Mhm. But no, yeah, but I was so these but they're cool when they don't come up that often. I mean,
No,
anything, but
yeah.
these typically get transferred between private collectors at the end of the day, so you don't get to see too many of these. So I thought it was, worthy of inclusion. And then, this next one by, John Leone, I just love the colors in it. Even though it's pretty simple two-character, illustration, but, and yellow's not a predominant color, but it's striking, that how much yellow is actually in this, in the shadows, and, and again, another white shirt that's done, primarily in yellows.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love the composition of this, simple, combat, pose here, but yeah, and it's the paints are laid down really coarsely, and it just suits
Yeah.
this imagery so well.
I mean,
Um,
what I think is so,
I like
cool about that is you kind of look at the shadow, and you look at the shadow, you look at the flattening of the shadow, And that's how you go, oh, that guy has his back up against the wall. Like there's nowhere else for him to go. And so without any background whatsoever, they they rough out a space,
Mhm.
there's actually a world around them.
Yeah, no, yeah, this is one of my favorite pieces in the set, definitely. I don't know, just simply, I'm more I'm looking at it, the yellows just tie the whole thing together. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so cool, and it was this. It's not a study, or this
No,
is
I don't
is
believe
the
that's a
cover.
study. Yeah.
Yep, very nice.
Yeah.
1956. So there you go,
Yeah.
70 years old.
Yeah.
And this last one I picked because I'm a Terry Oaks fan.
Yes, yes, you are. I was
I think I
hiding that
mentioned
one
that
so you could,
before.
so you could bid on it. No, I'm kidding. I
Yeah,
just
no, I
again, I
might. This
just
is
didn't
from
know
the
how to make my
Blackwater
choices.
series.
Yeah.
The Blackwater series, I think, was published a couple different times. I know that I think when I first read it, I got it from one of those, like, the book club of the month thing where you
Mm,
were, and I remember the covers were by Terry Oaks, and they were actually in it wasn't black and white, but it was like this purple sepia and grays, kind of
mhm.
whatever was on the dust jacket on them, and so it's kind of neat that at least even for this particular series of books, and I can't remember how many there were at least six. Like he had painted a black and white set and a color set for them, and again he's like prolific in horror paperback
Yeah.
artwork. I mean, from his era. I mean, I don't think could there be anybody who painted more than he did during that time. And uh, I know that over at Wow Art, they have a few of his pieces over there. And I always, yeah, I've always wanted to add a Terry Oaks to my collection. So sure, I'll throw some bids on this. Why
Yeah,
not?
you could you
I
could
love
you
the
could do
book.
worse on this one. I mean, and also just like I'm thinking back to I'm thinking back to, again, all of the other things we've been looking at, and like it's got the gothic, it's also, it's got like even going back to kind of the horror of, the horror of the like carnivorous plants. Like it's kind of just like you can just it's not just the storytelling of the book, the storytelling of the scene. You really just like again, like feel like the generations and generations and generations of, kind of the development of these genres when you look at some of these pieces.
Hmm. Well, yeah, okay, I like
Yeah.
this piece. I'm gonna put it. That's for
Well,
sure.
I am so glad, and yeah, I'm sorry that I missed some of them. I bet even between you and me, we both missed some of them, that we could have highlighted. But I really appreciate everybody sticking around, and I really want everybody to look at the sale. Yeah, it's worth probably just us scanning through and seeing what else we didn't catch. Because
I mean, there was just some fun stuff. Like I
I
went and looked up
know.
this thing from the Frozen Dead movie poster from 1966. I went out and Googled it to see. I had never heard of the Frozen Dead, so I looked. I could see the movie stills. I even did a. I
Yeah.
went over to YouTube just to catch a little 2 minute clip from the movie and how this was used because it wasn't actually the movie poster, but it was part of a preview poster for it.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was a cool image, right? I mean, you just never know what you're going to find when you're scrolling through the list, and there's always some bit of trivia, useless as it may be, to learn about a movie like that.
So
Um,
here's the question: watching 2 minutes of it, did it make you want to watch more?
Not really. I
Yeah.
hate to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 1966, right? So it was really
Yeah.
it wasn't well acted. I mean, I guess if I was in a campy mode, maybe I'd go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Definitely the illustration is far cooler than the way they had the Frozen Dead depicted in the film. This
I
was
mean, I
much
think
cooler.
that was kind of that's one of the takeaways of a lot of the schlocky films of the
Mhm.
1950s and 1960s, that God, they relied on the art to sell the movies.
Right.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
think I'm trying to think, there's definitely some things that, yeah, maybe in my mind I had picked. We definitely have some Michael Whalen in the sale.
Whelan's in it too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a lot represented. I think we hit on all the kind of major subgenres that are represented, and a
I
lot of
like
the
this piece
artists.
too,
Oh
by
yeah,
the way.
you like Zuckerberg. Every
I
time a
do.
Zuckerberg comes up in a sale, there's a
And this
few
is
in this
just a
one.
cool, view. It's through the windshield of the car. I mean, you've got the 3 characters she's
Yeah.
driving. I thought this was really nice,
Mm.
honestly. I mean, and it's a only at 170. I throw a thrill bid on that one, but I love I love the tones, and the colors that are used in the piece too. Probably because they knew the limitations or whatever they wanted to do with printing it. I think this piece is really
Yeah,
cool.
the interior magazines were so cheap. They were always trying to get you to like knock out one color. Like you don't need all those
Hmm.
colors. You don't need all
Right.
those tools in your toolkit.
What else caught my eye when I was scrolling through?
Okay, I've got
Again,
to
there's just
say some of
yep.
my favorite stuff that I didn't get into. Oh yeah, there's more Zuckerbergs. You're
Hmm.
you're
They're
you're a
great.
fan.
I
Yeah.
am.
Um there's some kind of like very obscure paperback art in this sale that's uh we're gonna scroll down a little more and we're gonna hit it. And yeah, it starts with these American artist pieces. It's kind of like, you know,
All right
um,
here.
yeah, the like not that one so much, but these next two. Let's do like the
Oh, the
Lovers Tour and the Hot
I
Rods. Yeah,
did.
the
I
Liebman.
had to look
So
at the
he would
Lovers
go, yeah,
Tour.
he would go on to become, a fairly legitimate artist in other genres. But yeah, these are just about the campiest things you're ever gonna see.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that
yeah,
because the guy's posture had threw me on a thumbnail, so I was like,
yeah,
I have to. What is that guy doing there? And then I was like, wow, that's
yeah.
not something I've ever seen
And these
before.
were, these were kind of scandalous paperbacks even for the day.
I'm certain they were. What,
Yeah,
1964 for both of
yeah.
them.
So yeah, they're very, they're definitely people who collect those lines of paperbacks. They're kind of their own, again, collecting genre within the collecting genre.
There's a Whelan
Yeah,
right there.
yeah,
That's nice.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know
Bober.
if I
I
have.
didn't. I didn't see the Bober. Those are always
Yeah.
cool.
There's
Uh,
even some Leo and Diane Dillon, who are another one of my favorite artists. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in this sale. Oh yeah,
oh,
and a
Robert
body
McGuire
I didn't
too.
even
I didn't
mention.
even.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that. I think. But actually, there was another one. I'd say there's a couple of McGuires in here too, right? Or is that the
Yeah,
one?
there's some McGuires. They're all again
Oh, here it
the
is. Yeah, this is the one
romance
I saw.
and
Yep.
yeah. Hmm. Her Rowena romance, which people don't think about her as having done those straight, historic romances, but she did, and she really was actually like one, one of the stronger, artists developing that particular moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was of that era,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Oh, yeah, this was a nice piece by Rowena too.
Yeah, that one's a really oh, dolphins. It wasn't dragon riders, it was
Yeah.
dolphins. Sorry. Yeah. I think we did
But yeah,
dragon
lots
I
of
had
good
we had
stuff
dragon
here.
riders in a previous sale. So I appreciate everybody's patience with me while, like I said, I'm a
There's the
little
beacon.
tired
I thought
tonight.
that was really
Yeah.
nice.
Mm,
And then the other couple of,
yeah.
Gurneys was that one and this one here. Again, good
And I
stuff.
think, I mean, I assume, all Gurney fans, are, really familiar with his web presence, but I think on a lot of these, he actually has, some storytelling about these, and with some shots of the models
Mhm.
and like he just gets so into, letting you into his process, and that's another one of those great things about his preliminaries. Yeah, I love that one. I think that one's really, again, kind of kooky. Um,
Yeah, Herb Arnold.
yeah.
I have no mouth and I must scream.
Yeah. Which is funny because there's, we have something that's I have no mouth and I must scream. I don't know if that's published. I wasn't able to really uncover anything about it. But then we also have another thing that is Harlan Ellison related, like I said, by Leo and Diane Dillon, that it's a book cover for one of his like media criticism books.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's quite fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I think
Yeah.
that's
Some Lee Brown Coy. Like I said, there's more Jack Gone. Yeah.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
and a freeze as well. A
Yeah.
little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything and a lot of some things. So don't forget to dig in. You've got about a day and a half before the sale.
That is true. Yeah, so, Thursday right? It's Thursday, and it's probably sometime around noon Central, but I could be wrong
Yeah,
about that. I know.
give or take. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we're close.
I like that time of day, the sweet spot. It's not too early for you out on the West Coast. It's not too late for you, out in Europe when you're not visiting the How exhibition and making me jealous. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Heritage has had a lot of time to figure out what the right starting time is for, these auctions, and I'm sure it's well planned to be not too early on the West Coast and not too late in Europe. I mean, it's probably about, it's they got it down pat. But
Somebody
how
somebody's
exhibit
gonna somebody's gonna hit me up from New Zealand and tell me it's entirely the wrong time. There's always somebody who it's the wrong time for, I
Yeah. Yeah, you can't please everybody, but,
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Hawaii's gonna call me, you
Right.
know,
I have to
so
get up at 4 in the morning to watch these auctions. Well, what are you gonna do? But, well, listen, you need some rest. You should, relax for a little bit, in the lead up to the auction, and, so what do you have to do on Thursday? I mean, is there any, like, responsibilities that you have to do other than sitting back and watching the bids come in, or what do you gotta do?
I think, sometimes, and please, everybody who's watching this, if you see something in the sale and you like it and you have any questions about it and want to learn a little bit more, we do get inquiries about pieces, about, condition, or if there's something that isn't clear, or,
Mhm.
we have people who are always asking questions up until the last minute. So one thing I'm often doing is, trying to get people the information they need so they can feel like they're, bidding with confidence. But I on a sale like this, in the signature sales, sometimes we're on the phone with clients. The showcase sales, they're all online. You can all bid from the comfort of your phones, and that's a great feeling. I think people just prefer that these days. HA Live works really well, and it's a lot easier than just having to set aside your whole day to sit in one spot and wait for a phone call to be like, I can just
Well,
hit
the
bid,
Heritage,
or, leave your bids or
the
whatever.
notifications from Heritage, you get them and they're very timely. They usually hit if you're following anything, you get pinged about 5 lots ahead of the time that
Yeah.
so it's very well timed. If you're
Yeah.
using Heritage to its fullest, you have no chance of missing something that you're interested in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, this was fun. We got
Yeah.
OAX next month, so looking forward to getting to see what's going on there. I mean, lots of good stuff going on with Heritage. I'm sure
Oh,
you've heard.
it's gonna be really fun. I had the best time last year, and I know people are saying this, to you all the time, but yes, anybody who's watching who's thinking about coming to OAX and hasn't decided for real yet, you really should. Like, you're not gonna regret it, and they don't even pay me to say that, you know?
No, we
I
don't.
get I get nothing out of saying that other than the benefit of getting to meet somebody else who's having as good a time that weekend as I am.
Exactly. No, and it's we Kesher put together the majority of the floor plan. It's awesome. We got to go through that recently, and it's very exciting. I mean, everything's almost locked into place, and it now starts feeling like a real show now that we're
Yeah.
a little over 5 weeks out. But yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up. Lots of announcements and things we have as well. But we're gonna get to see more. We'll have animation art on the floor, some game art, new things, more illustration art. It's gonna be, it's gonna be really, really awesome, and, we even did I think we announced, like, 12 other artists just at the end of last week too, so I think we've almost announced everybody who's coming. Almost.
Almost.
Yes.
Yes.
So, all right, well, I hope you have a great time while you're down there in Texas. It should be fun. Say hi to everybody at the offices. Now that I know what the offices look like, having been to the offices there with Kazra a couple months back. But yeah, do that, and then yeah, anything I can help out with in the lead up to any of the future stuff, let me know. And as far as reaching out to you, I mean, I don't like. It's funny whenever I have Joe on. Joe has his email address, in there. Is there
Oh,
is there like
yeah,
is there
it
in
never
the
occurred to
Steve?
me to do that, but yes,
And
yeah,
well, I never.
anybody can reach out to me at sarahjaneb@ha.com, sarahjaneb@ha.com. I'm also on Instagram, at sarahjane@heritage, and that's a really good idea. Next time I'll remember to put my email or my contact up.
Right. So yeah, I don't know why I never thought about that before, but you don't
Yeah.
mind reaching out and asking questions. Now they know your email address too. Perfect.
Wants to find me should find me. Did you
exactly.
lose me for a second? I said, anybody who wants to find me, and then everybody lost me.
That's
There you
no, they
go.
didn't.
That's some irony to end the night.
Mhm. All right. Well, Sarahjane, always fun to do these. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. Everybody in the chat, thank you for enjoying the conversation and coming up with your own in the chat as you always do. We'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow night. With yeah, Jiggy's going to be on with us along with Von Randall. We'll be looking at some art that he had put into, I think, a Spider Gwen book issue 5. We're going to be looking at tomorrow. Some fun stuff from Von, who is going to OAX as well. So there's the tie-in. All right. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you again soon.